Major roster questions, and right back to where we have been. RB3. So what do you think there?
Yeah, so it's Felton, Kelly, Wilkins, or elsewhere, and I think we're looking at Wilkins or elsewhere at this point. I know Wilkins hasn't seen as much time as Kelly and Felton, but I just have this feeling that when they brought him in, the reps that he's gotten this week with the ones and his experience make him the guy if they go within the roster. Now, if they find a better option on cutdown day, I think there's a possibility that RB3 is not on this roster yet. But if he is, I think it's Wilkins.
Yeah, and it makes sense. So, there are teams that have running back rooms like the Browns wide receiver room where they just got too many to fit on the 53-man roster, and you want to go and try to find one from there. We also, another thing that you mentioned is the Dobbs trade. We've talked about Mond, new rule. Do they, what if a veteran, and I don't have a better name. What if a Brian Hoyer all of a sudden becomes available? Don't you have to look at that as somebody okay, we can throw him in there and he might be able to get us through 2-3 games with a win or two and keep things floating until Deshaun Watson comes back?
It's an interesting proposition, right? Like if you get a guy that you think can win you a game because he's done it before, do you bring him in and then you kind of have that short-term option quarterback and long-term option backup quarterback, right, with DTR? So that's an interesting way to look at it. And certainly I think you might be able to find a guy that gives you a better chance to win than Kellen Mond should you have to call on, I guess, what would be considered quarterback 3 at this point, right? But I don't think, though, that they will bring somebody in and push that person on the depth chart in front of DTR, despite your really good points about not having any experience.
Yeah, that's fair because, again, they've been trying to find a quarterback that they can develop probably since 1999, and it looks like they have a guy they can potentially develop. The hope is you can let him develop and not have him have to take meaningful snaps for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, that would be the ideal, is to bring him along nice and easy, get him, he's in a system that fits him and Watson, so that works out well. It's just kind of like, where does this go, right? Because Watson was acquired as like the solution for 10 years, right? So where does it go eventually with DTR? Sure, he'll serve as a nice backup for a couple years here, I believe. But do you trade him off as an asset if he gets that, does Watson miss a couple games and he performs really well, and then all of a sudden, you might be able to acquire some of the draft capital back that you traded away to get Watson? All of these things are potential options or outcomes for what happens with DTR. And then, of course, there's the option that, hey, it doesn't work with Watson and he's your next guy, which obviously would be not a good situation at all, but at least you have a guy there that you're developing.
All right, we talked about the wide receiver depth. That's another one, 6, 7, Grant, Watkins. Those are the things we dealt with that last segment. Let's talk about safety, the fourth safety. Ronnie Hickman he's looked good. He has looked like a guy you could develop as a potential starting free safety in the league.
I agree 100%. Like, I am a big Hickman fan. Think that he could be like, so some of the reason that the Browns have spent a lot of cash, Dave, is because maybe they haven't drafted so well in bringing in replacement level players. But here you have a guy in Ronnie Hickman who looks like he could be a replacement level safety at some point and save you some money. You want to keep him around big time. Like, I definitely do. His ball skills are great. He's flashed. It was unfortunate that he missed last game. The problem is DeAnthony Bell played 16 out of 17 games, full special teams, every aspect last year, right? And even played 2 games on defense. So do they try to keep 5 safeties? Because I know that they love DeAnthony Bell on special teams. Can Hickman perform well enough on special teams to usurp him. I don't know. It's a really interesting situation. Can he get through to the practice squad because he's had those 3 interceptions? All of those things are questions that I'm sure they're mulling over in Berea. I would like to see them do everything they can to keep Hickman here, including putting him above Bell if they have to, because I think long term he provides you with more than what Bell can.
The thing that, the balancing act, and we've talked about how much of a struggle special teams have been the last couple of years. You have to give Bubba Ventrone some guys that he can say, yeah, we can get that done, because that third aspect of the game needs upgrading just like the defense did.
Yeah, it's critical, and he wants his guys, and he's gotten them. He's gotten Matthew Adams. They brought in Ford, the cornerback, guys that he believes are core special teamers. Jordan Kanasic is another guy that I think they're going to look at that way. And D'Anthony Bell is another one. So, to force him off the roster is difficult because of what he's put on tape as a special teams player and the way they value him. Even Bubba Ventrone just a day ago talking about how much he values Bell on special teams. So it puts Hickman in a tough spot, but man, he's looked really good, and you want him to be a part of the future with this team. That's the dance of this 53-man roster. So we'll see what kind of roster gymnastics that Andrew Berry can pull out here, and see if they can get him through the practice squad, or maybe they try to keep him on the 53. All things still in play. I would really like to see him kept around, though, Dave.